starting out with...
What year were you born?
Yes, 1950.
1950. So,
Yes.
what was Poland like in 1950? Or after, I guess.
What did I tell you before? Well, the government was communist, the people not. We were constantly told that we were in paradise, workers' paradise, and just didn't get any better than this. However, everybody knew that between Radio Free Europe and other means, the information was getting through, in spite of the Iron Curtain and in spite of the government's best efforts to keep the information suppressed. It still got through. I mean, I did listen to Beatles. Yes, I did. The Animals, the Rolling Stones. It was fun. I mean, you make the best of a bad situation and hope for things improve.
So what was an everyday life for you? What would you do on an everyday occurrence?
Yes, sir. I think you asked me about activities.
Yeah.
Before. Yes. What activities? No, it was not nothing like what you guys experience here.
Mm-hmm.
It was boring, actually. We tried pick up games of soccer and things like that, and tried to keep ourselves occupied and not get into too much trouble as kids. But the situation was pretty much night and day. If you wanted, if you were maybe good enough in certain sports, you could get into a government-sponsored program. But yeah, you had to be pretty good. Show some serious promise. Otherwise, why would they waste time on you? Mm-hmm. And the whole thing was about proving that the communist system was far superior to mm-hmm. this the West oppression and yes. Mm-hmm.
So you were telling me about the everyday the milk, the bread, the meat.
Yes, just trying to get the basic staples of life was really a chore. Waiting in line for minimum half an hour to get milk, bread was, and you had to make sure that you kind of had to figure out when it was being delivered. Mm-hmm. Because if you wanted to be there before.
Yep.
Because quite often, if you didn't get in the line, and I know that this is something for people difficult to understand, but think of Venezuela right now. If you know what's going on over there, it's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as bad, but toilet paper? Yeah, it's called a phone book, newspaper. I'm not kidding. You want meat? Well, spend a couple of 3 hours in line waiting for it. Making sure that, again, you get there at the right time.
Yep.
Because sometimes you could spend that much time waiting and not get anything. Yeah, it's now if you did have dollars,
yep,
you could. Yeah, I forgot to tell you that you could buy again state stores.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, had a lot of stuff there, but it had to be dollars, hard currency.
Okay.
Otherwise, you couldn't exchange it.
Yeah.
So you had to bring it in, and then yeah, you could get almost everything you needed. The same way with clothing. Everything state sponsored. No, I mean, there was stuff there, but it was kind of crappy. You really shoes, jackets, pants, all this stuff. Yeah, you could get stuff. I mean, it wasn't totally gone, but most of it was not that nice. I mean, why? You already have. You're in paradise.
Yeah. Tell me about your schooling. You were talking about your drawing.
Well, yeah, I could. Yes, I did acquire talent mainly from my father, who at one point in time was actually a draftsman, and then he got into construction. He was a very good carpenter. He made, you've been to my house and
yeah.
you've seen all the woodwork. It was his work, and all hand done. No, rarely a few power tools. And when you cut stuff by hand, you have to cut it just right, because you can't shave another 1/16 of an inch off of it like you can with a power miter box or something like that. So anyway, he was very, very good at it, and I acquired that ability from him. And I got, as I started school at the age of 7, which is still the case in Poland, I was able to, my handwriting was very good, and on one of the assignments I was failed because the teacher thought that I had my parents do this for me, and it was a sucker punch that I did not expect. It really devastated me. The following day my mother shows up, and I finally end up doing the same thing in front of the teacher. And she says, "Oh yeah, I guess you can." But the damage was done, and I liked to learn, but I didn't like school. Mm-hmm. It really, well, how can I put this tactfully? Pissed me off. So.
So how long were you in school? Up until you left?
Yep. 7th grade. And then I came here. I spent a little bit of time in junior high, I mean like 3 months, less than 3 months. And after that, at the age of 15, I ended up in high school, which was interesting experience, not knowing the language and kind of stumbling around. I literally walked around school with my dictionary constantly, trying to figure out how to say it and what people say to me. But what was also, I forgot to mention that, it was right at the time where the Polish jokes were in full swing.
Ooh.
Well, it was very perplexing. You know, why are you making fun? But then, you know, then I found out that, okay, so there were Swedish jokes and Norwegian jokes and German and you name it. And these were just the former ones rebranded as Polish jokes, and eventually kind of learned to figure out who's doing it just because they're stupid and for fun, and who is trying to really get under your skin.
Yeah.
And, you know, basically tell them to go bug off. But high school was a fun time to a certain degree. We didn't have anywhere near the amount of support than there is now in the schools everywhere. And it's good and bad. I do believe that the fastest, the best way to learn another language is to be immersed in it full bore.
Yeah.
Of course, when I came home, we did actually, my parents did, and I tried to speak more English just to keep it up. For them, learning the language was much more difficult than it was for me. But yet, you know, we kept trying, just like everybody else that came here at that time and before us. You don't want to isolate yourself, and you want to be a part of it. You really you keep some of the traditions, but you know that you're not going back. And I very quickly realized that. I mean, it was a shock. It was different, but I very quickly realized that this is home now. This is where I'm going to stay. And as it turns out, 50 years later, I'm still here.